Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the third episode of the story, where Naruto Uzumaki has the power of Kyuubi no Kitsune. But what if at age 5 he was given a greater power? Power Naruto, Naru, Hina, harem. Alternate timeline and characters. Rated M for language, violence and straight, les lemons later. To show your support, like and subscribe. Let's get this show going.
Tenten vs. Chi-Chi, are you ready Chi-Chi? Tenten asked as calmly as she could after what she'd just seen. Chi-Chi looked at Tenten from next to Bull, who had his huge right hand on her shoulder. She was still shaking slightly, she'd never been so scared before. Hi. I'm ready. Chi-Chi said, gave Bull's arm a pat, then was carefully picked up and given a warm, but gentle hug, then put back down. Good luck Chichikan, do your best. Bull said in a warm, but deep voice. Don't hold back Chi-Chi. Sasuke said and gave her a brief smile. Though only slightly taller than Tenten, getting encouragement from both her teammates, especially the normally reserved Sasuke, made her feel 6 feet tall. She stood as tall as she could, brushed back her red hair and stuck out her D-cup chest, which she knew looked a few cup sizes bigger on her small frame. Let's show 'em how the little girls kick butt Tenten. Chi-Chi exclaimed, then headed for the stairs, her breasts bouncing under her shirt. Bull was her best friend, but she respected Sasuke for his skill, so getting encouragement from both was big. I don't know if I want to fight her or kiss her. Tenten said seriously, a big smile on her face as she watched her fellow small but busty kunoichi bounce down the stairs. Everyone just smiled, especially Bull. Maybe there's a way I can do both. Tenten said playfully. Don't worry Bull, I won't seriously hurt her, I'm just glad I didn't get paired against you. Most of my attacks won't work on you. Tenten said seriously, with a smile, gave a small bow and headed for the stairs. Before Tenten got more than a step, Anko grabbed her arm, pulled her close, leaned down and whispered in her ear. When she straightened up she had a devious smile on her face. Tenten looked up at Anko with mild surprise, smirked and gave her sensei a subtle nod. Chi-Chi watched her friend, and soon-to-be opponent come down the stairs and head towards her. She got a little nervous when she saw the playful, definitely lust-filled, and she knew most likely very embarrassing for her, smile. She knew that at most she'd get a painful beating, but no worse than she would in a hard sparring session with her teammates, but 2 things bothered her. First, there were 3 spots on her body that her male teammates wouldn't touch her in a spar. Tenten wouldn't just touch them, she'd strike them. And second, Tenten was not only a fellow kunoichi, but a lesbian that she knew thought she was very cute. When her mother had given her the talk, she didn't just cover boys, but told her in detail about jumping the fence and said she'd done it many times over the years, both before she'd married her father, and to her surprise, after he'd died. She hadn't given any names though, out of respect for their privacy. Not that she'd mind a little friendly experimentation, but this wasn't the place for that, but knowing them like she did, the look on Tenten's face told her everything she needed to know. I'm gonna get felt up. And probably end up showing everyone my boobs. Oh well. Maybe I could use this against her. Kakashi Sensei taught us to always exploit an enemy's weakness. I just never expected it would be this, and with another kunoichi. I just have to get past her weapons, but if I'm right she'll do that for me. I hope Mom's advice works as well as she said it would. Chi-Chi thought. Once the match started it was apparent to everyone from Konoha that the barrages of kunai Tenten threw at Chi-Chi weren't aimed at her. Tenten was directing Chi-Chi towards the wall for a trap. When Tenten threw at you, you got hit. Stalling was a waste of time because she never ran out weapons. Everyone knew the story. Tenten's first period teacher at the academy had gotten upset with her for throwing a kunai in class. The fact she had done it to kill a wasp didn't matter. The woman had tried to totally disarm her. And spent the rest of the school day removing weapons and scrolls of weapons from her clothes. Nearing a total breakdown she just gave Tenten a hug and sent her home. there are still scratches halfway up the wall of the room from the piles. Her right eye still twitches slightly at the sight of a kunai. Chi-Chi smiled nervously at Tenten, only 20 feet away, her back a mere 4 feet from the wall, and though she knew it was a waist pulled and threw a kunai at her. She gritted her teeth in nervous frustration when Tenten pulled and tossed her own at lightning speed and knocked hers out of the air with an amused smile on her face. At 15 feet away Tenten suddenly threw down a smoke bomb. "Oh no, oh no, oh no." Chi-Chi said nervously as her eyes darted around, then Tenten ran straight at her from the cloud. And from each side, circling around in a 3-point attack. Illusions. Think, which one is the real Tenten? Chi-Chi said then froze. The one behind you, cutie. Tenten said as she reached under Chi-Chi's arms and grabbed her large breasts. Gotcha. Tenten said, released her right hand and with a motion and quick flip of her hand and fingers that looked like a jutsu, she had a kunai in her hand she used to slice off Chi-Chi's weapons pouch then sliced Chi-Chi's shirt from waist to collar up the front, also cutting her sports bra in half. Tenten pulled open Chi-Chi's shirt with her left, repeated the hand motion and suddenly had a kunai. She put the left at Chi-Chi's throat and the right under Chi-Chi's firm, D-cup breast. Please don't move, Chi-Chi. I really don't want to cut you. Chi-Chi was totally embarrassed, as her neon blush proved, glanced across to her catwalk, saw Sasuke and Kakashi Sensei with a noticeable blush, and Bull. He had both hands on the rail, which was bending in his hands. Her mind raced to find a counter before the match was simply called as she was basically at Tenten's mercy and helpless, then it hit her, she closed her eyes a moment to focus, nervously bit her bottom lip, then opened her eyes, pushed down her blush and relaxed her body. Oh Cammy, I hope I can do this. Chi-Chi thought then gently leaned back against Tenten. If you wanted to see my breasts, Tenten-chan, all you had to do was ask. Chi-Chi said seductively, leaned her head back, turned it and gently kissed Tenten's left cheek. She saw the mild shock on Tenten's face, reached behind her, and gently ran her hands from Tenten's upper thighs to her flat stomach under her shirt. She then brought her left arm up and behind her, gently grabbed Tenten's head, turned her face towards her and planted a passionate kiss dead on Tenten's lips, holding her head in place. She felt then heard Tenten drop her kunai and gently grab Chi-Chi's breasts, rolling the unusually large nipples of her scarlet areola, that covered the front third of her big D cups, with her thumbs and return the kiss. Chi-Chi enjoyed the raw sexual energy Tenten was generating, leaned her hips forward a couple inches and slipped her right hand behind her, careful not to touch Tenten. Chi-Chi broke the kiss and pulled back a few inches. Tenten-chan, forgive me. Chi-Chi said softly in an apologetic voice. Tenten was lost in a sexual haze when Chi-Chi broke the kiss, then she heard something that sounded like forgive me, but just as the words fully registered in her mind an intense, almost burning pain hit her. It was centered on her formerly stimulated womanhood. Oh Cammy, she got my pussy, oh Cammy, this hurts. Please release me or I'll use my medical knowledge to put you to the hospital with a very painful, humiliating injury. Chi-Chi said seriously, but obviously reluctantly, put some chakra in her hand which took on a slight green glow and projected it into Tenten's most sensitive flesh. Tenten screamed in pain when all the pain receptors in her crotch seemed to fire at once. Chi-Chi hated to use this on Tenten. Kakashi had shown her how to use her healing jutsu as an attack to inflict pain, what they'd finally named her burning hands jutsu. It was her ultimate technique, she was saving for later rounds. Her only real skills were her chakra control and the medical jutsu her mother taught her, except maybe for her speed her other skills were slightly above average at best. I can't do this, even if I make it to the finals I don't have a chance of winning it. Chi-Chi thought. Tenten, I'll release you and you fall to your knees, I'll face you for a knockout blow and when I raise my hand you hit my pussy with everything you have and knock me out. In return I want a night with you, deal? Chi-Chi whispered to Tenten. Tenten heard Chi-Chi's offer, and despite the burning pain between her legs could think just clearly enough to know Chi-Chi was serious, and knowing her so well figured whatever Shishi was doing to her wasn't at full power. "Hi." Tenten managed to say quietly. She felt the pain suddenly vanish, dropped to her knees, hands pressed between her legs protectively, tears in her eyes, amazingly though they were only half real. She looked up and saw Chi-Chi turn, looked down at her and raise a hand for the knockout blow, then saw Chi-Chi's stance. It was subtle but her pussy was exposed, specifically her clit, remembered what Chi-Chi told her, said a silent apology and hit Chi-Chi dead on her clit with an uppercut that bent it painfully on her fist. Everything she had was behind it. Chi-Chi shrieked in blinding agony and collapsed out cold. "I'll make this up to you, I promise." Tenten thought sadly, then stood and pushed Chi-Chi onto her back, where she sprawled out so everyone could see she was unconscious. "Winner, Tenten." Geki said then coughed. Tenten looked over at Bull and waved him over. He jumped down with a thud and ran over to them. "Please don't be mad, I can't explain but she'll be fine and I promise she won't be upset. For her, please just trust me on this and carry her to the back." Tenten said sincerely. Bull looked at her a moment, then nodded and scooped up his teammate and headed for the back just as the medics came out. They stopped when they saw him carrying her and Tenten gingerly walking beside him. Once they were out of the arena the final match came up, though no one was surprised as they were the only two left. Enko glanced at Kakashi. What the hell was that jutsu Chi-Chi did? It looked like a medical jutsu, but it sure as hell wasn't one from Tenten's reaction. "What did you teach her, Kakashi?" Kakashi gave her an eye smile. "We call it burning hands, it's a modified healing jutsu. I had to work with what I had." "So you taught one of the nicest girls I've ever met what's essentially a torture technique? I should kick your ass, you son of a..." Enko said as she got angry, then stopped when she felt a hand on her shoulder. "He's right, Enko sensei, Chi-Chi's healing jutsu and speed are all she has, she needed a non-fatal jutsu for protection," Naruto said calmly. Enko grunted in annoyance, then sighed and relaxed. "Damn it, you're right. You better train her well, Kakashi. If something's happens to that sweet girl because of you I swear to Kami I'll castrate you with a dull kunai." Kakashi nodded. He knew Enko very well and had no doubts she was dead serious or that she'd do what she threatened. She could and would. "Gaara vs Otokashi, this should be interesting," Naruto said with a smile. "I wonder what jutsu he uses." Hinata asked, then turned to Naruto. "Natsuda-kun, I made a deal with Temari. I promised her you'd save Gaara from himself, she wants her baby brother too." "I will, Hinata-kun." Naruto interrupted politely. "I won't let my lil princess be a liar. I promise you I'll do everything in my power to help him," Naruto said seriously, but quietly. Hinata smiled happily at him, she knew he'd rather die than break a promise to her. And he'd never failed to do anything he said he would for as long as she'd known him, even before they were friends. They watched the Rock-Nin throw a barrage of kunai at Gaara. Everyone was surprised he didn't even attempt to dodge, then at the last second a wall of sand sprang up in front of Gaara and blocked them. Even more amazing to everyone, was that Gaara never even flinched, he just stood there, arms crossed over his chest with a cold dead stare. He wasn't bored, it was as if his opponent wasn't even there. The Rock-Nin attacked again. Same result. He tried several earth jutsu. They all failed even more pathetically than the kunai, they only seemed to give Gaara more sand. "Mother wants her sacrifice," Gaara said in a dead voice, there was absolutely no emotion in it, he almost sounded mechanical. "Sand shuriken," Gaara said and dozens of balls of sand shot forward, quickly changing into sand kunai, only a few hit him but those that missed stuck in the stone wall. Then Gaara raised his right arm and pointed his open palm at the sand coffin. Gaara said emotionlessly, then sand rose up from the ground and in seconds totally engulfed the Rock-Nin in sand. Naruto saw a dark smile appear on Gaara's face and knew instantly what it meant. He's gonna kill him. Naruto yelled. Unfortunately for the rock Nin, they weren't as fast as Naruto. Sand burial. Gaara said in a cold, sadistic voice as he closed his hand into a fist. A moment later he heard the satisfying scream and shattering of bones as the sand crushed the rock Nin to pulp, his blood sprayed everywhere except him, the sand blocked and absorbed it wherever they touched as it returned to the gourd on his back. Winner, Gaara. Geki said, even he was stunned by the absolutely cold-blooded, sadistic murder of the rock Nin. While as was technically legal, it was rare for anyone to die in the preliminary matches. Naruto looked across at the remaining rock Nin, their shock and rage was obvious to anyone that looked, then he saw them draw some kunai. Don't do it. He'll kill you both just as easily. Naruto yelled to the two rock Nin. He didn't like them, but he didn't want them to die for no reason, even an enemy deserved a chance as far as he was concerned. Gaara turned and looked up at the two rock Nin. Come, mother always accepts sacrifices, give us your blood. Gaara said to them in a dead voice that made them pause. The rock Nin looked at each other with the same thought. Killing was one thing, but there was something about that kid Gaara that wasn't normal, no one should have that kind of control over sand, and he didn't even use a hand sign, it seemed to move on its own like it was alive. They were mad, but they weren't stupid, this wasn't the time or place for this, especially if the Konoha Nin got involved. Both backed down. Gaara almost looked disappointed, then did a sand shushin back to the catwalk. Sarutobi stood, his face stern. First I want to congratulate the winners and apologize to IWA for your lose. The finals will be held in 1 month at the outdoor stadium, use this time to train and prepare, you've seen some of what your opponents can do so prepare yourselves accordingly. Please gather in the center of the arena. Sarutobi said, then nodded to an ANBU next to him, who shushined down to Geki and handed him a bag, then returned to his place. Geki had the available winners line up then went to the end. Pick a number. Geki said then coughed. Everyone drew a number, 1 through 12, each called out their number as they picked it. Except for Tenin who was still in back, her sensei Enko drew for her. Everyone waited a minute, then were told to turn and see their final opponent. When they did a huge chart was on the wall, most moved a little closer to see their opponent. This is the pairings for the finals, Bull vs Tsuchi, Rock Nin, Rock Lee Haro, Rock Nin, Niji Hyuga vs Sasuke Uchiha Tenten vs Ino Yamanaka Hinata Hyuga vs Sakura Haruno Naruto Uzumaki vs Gaara, this is gonna be fun. Bull said with a big grin then squeezed his right fist and cracked the knuckles loudly. Hi, Bull-san. Our fires of youth will burn very brightly. Rock Lee said. You will lose to your superior Uchiha team. Niji said in a friendly but very competitive tone. Bring it on deadpan. Sasuke said with a big competitive smile. All of Niji and Sasuke's friends shook their heads and sighed, they knew the next month would be tough as the boasting by both would be intense, but the match would be well worth the trouble. An Uchiha against a Hyuga was a fight you didn't miss unless you were dead. Fuck me sideways. Ino said with a mix of emotions that made her true feelings impossible to read. All her friends looked at Ino shocked, despite her attitude she rarely actually cursed like that, so her comment worried them a little. Hinata bit her bottom lip nervously and hugged Naruto. I'm sorry Nada, but if she's able to compete you'll have to fight her. I know you don't want to, but they have her listed for the final so they believe she'll be able to compete. Naruto said as he hugged Hinata back. He knew wasn't afraid of getting hurt, she was afraid she'd hurt Sakura, and even hurting someone just a little that she cared about, even in a friendly spar, would upset Hinata afterwards. She hated to hurt anyone, even if they deserved it. Gaara suddenly stepped in front of Naruto. You will be mother's greatest sacrifice and prove my existence. Do not disappoint us. Gaara said with an almost happy, but very dark, voice. Everyone around them felt a chill run down their back. Except Naruto, who didn't even flinch. Everyone but Hinata took a few steps away from them. Naruto gently pushed Hinata away from him, then got face-to-face with Gaara. I know who and what you are. And you can't beat me. If you hurt anyone I care about between now and our match, I'll kill you. Naruto said quietly, so only Gaara heard him, and hit Gaara with 6 taels worth of killer intent as his eyes turned blood red and his pupils turned into vertical slits for a moment. Kyuubi could be seen for an instant if you had looked into his eyes. Gaara flinched in fear, something he'd never felt before, and took a step back. Gaara straightened up, regained his composure, gave Naruto a nod of respect and did a sand shushin to the farthest side of the crowd from Naruto and everyone from Konoha. Everyone from another village and those that didn't know Naruto contained Kyuubi went bug-eyed in shock at what they just saw, and wondered what could Naruto have said to Gaara that could have caused that reaction in someone that was obviously a stone-cold killer. Sarutobi sighed as he blew out a plume of smoke from his pipe. He knew exactly what had happened. 8 minutes later, Barina Medic Station, outside room 2, I know she's in there, now open the fucking door and let me see my sister. Kankuro yelled in the Mednin's face and again tried to push past him. I'm sorry, but only Hayashishima, Hisashishima and Hokagesima can overrule Hinata-sama's orders. There she is. The Mednin said and pointed down the hall. Kankuro turned, saw Hinata and snarled. Hey you little bye. Kankuro caught himself at the last moment as Naruto caught his attention. Hinata Hyuga, tell this asshole to let me in to see my sister. I heard her screaming earlier and he won't let me help her. Hinata, Naruto at her left side, Enko behind them, walked up to room 2. Please have Tenten join us right away, we can handle this. Hinata said to the Mednin who left for Tenten's room. Your sister is being punished by me, she assaulted me and offended my honor as the Hyuga heiress. It was within my rights to kill her, but I did not do that. Kankuro swallowed a little nervously. He knew he couldn't beat them and a jounin, especially if the guy that beat him was an example of their strength. What did you do to her? He asked politely, his normal attitude well in check. I used a special juken technique on her I created. It won't hurt her, but she's been locked in it since my match, which was right after yours, and I honestly don't know the lasting effects. I've never left anyone in it this long. Please wait here, we'll go in and I'll release her from it and check her, then we'll bring you in when she's ready. Hinata said calmly, then saw Tenten leave her room and head for them. Tenten-chan, please join us. We'll in a few minutes, please wait here. I promise Temari will be fine. Hinata said, turned and entered the room, Naruto, Tenten then Enko following her. As soon as they were all in, Enko shut the door behind her, and they all froze in shock at Temari. She was sprawled, unconscious, spread eagle, face up on the floor, nude, drenched in sweat from head to toe. Her blonde bush was matted to her mound, her smooth outer lips were puffed and spread, her inner lips wet and open, her hips were bucking hard and her clit was dark red and swollen to massive proportions. It looked like a big dick, veins were swollen and pumping blood into it. Hinata had her hands over her mouth. Dear Kami, I didn't know it would do that to her. Hinata said, she'd tested it on Tenten, with her permission, and only left her in it about 5.5 minutes. She'd been very tired but otherwise wasn't affected. Temari had been in it almost an hour. It has to be that technique, Hinata, that's a hell of a side effect though. Enko said, amazed, scared and excited all at once. If that was the side effect of being at that for an hour, she'd happily volunteer for further testing. Hinata suddenly snapped out of her shock, rushed in as she activated her Byakugan and struck the points that would release it. Temari's bucking slowed and stopped over a 10-second period, then her clit softened, shrank and retracted, but it was obvious that it hadn't shrunk back to normal size and probably never would. The marble-sized tip of her clit still poked out. Enko, get the blanket from the bed and wipe her down. Tenten, get her shirt and shorts, and after you help Enko dry her off, get her dressed. Naruto-kun, go outside and tell Kankuro we'll be ready for him in a few minutes. Temari is just getting herself ready, but please don't tell him about this. You can go check on Sakura-kun for us and talk to that rock Kunoichi like you wanted to. Naruto nodded and smiled. He thought she was cute when she was like that. But then she was always cute. He turned and left the room. Hinata woke Temari with some smelling salts from her med pouch, and talked while Temari got dried off and dressed. 3 minutes later, Room 5. Naruto was watching two med-nins use healing jutsu on Sakura while she was hooked up to an IV and tubes to help her breathe until her face was repaired enough for her to breathe on her own. Will Sakura-kun be okay? The older med-nin, a woman, answered. She'll live, but whatever happened to her out there should have killed her. I haven't seen injuries like this since the last war. The woman looked at Naruto sternly, but didn't stop her jutsu. What the hell did Sakura-kun do out there? Naruto took a deep breath, sighed and briefly told her that Sakura opened 6 of the chakra gates, was crushed under 20 to 30 tons of earth and rock, but smashed out by opening the 7th gate and stood on broken legs. The woman, a retired jounin and survivor of the last Great War and Kyuubi's attack on Konoha, an elite med-nin who'd seen every injury a ninja could suffer. Gasped in total shock and covered her mouth with both hands. Dear Kami. She knew Sakura very well from the hospital and had no idea that she could open the chakra gates, much less 7 of them. The doors suddenly opened and the top med-nin in Konoha walked in, a tall, silver-haired woman followed by her primary patient, the Hokage. Naruto, we need to talk about some things and I have a special mission for Team 7. Sarutobi said calmly, but the expression on his face said this wasn't a request, it was an order. July 21st, 11:02 a.m. Naruto's house. Anko stood next to Jiraiya as she watched the end of the scene. Tenten stood near the couch to her right side, sitting on it from her right to left, was Hinata, Temari and Kankuro, standing in front of them was Naruto. He'd just told the two Sand Nin that they knew about the invasion, that Suna was involved and that he contained Kyuubi no Kitsune. Kankuro had taken it better than she expected, but was very worried about his safety for a few minutes, understandably so considering his little brother. Temari was an entirely different story. And problem. While she recovered physically from Hinata's special Juken technique, she'd been changed forever. She really felt sorry for Temari and what she'd been through, it was nothing short of extreme torture. Her brilliant strategic mind had been destroyed basically down to the foundation. She wasn't stupid, she still knew who she was and everything she should, but she was a slave to her own desire for sex and to please Hinata and Naruto. The old man had already set up daily sessions with Kurenai and Inoichi to restore her as best they could. Temari's clit had been enlarged by the jutsu, her nipples were permanently erect now, and she was hopelessly in love with and devoted to Hinata and Naruto. Her mind's way of coping with what she'd been through was to emotionally latch onto the two most prominent people in her mind and basically rebuilt her mind accordingly to protect her sanity. Kankuro felt as bad for his sister, in his own words she was a hard-ass bitch that needed to loosen up a little, but he didn't want this, she didn't even yell at him anymore. Almost as bad off was Hinata. Once they'd seen the full extent of what her technique did to Temari, she'd cried her eyes out for over 30 minutes, and promised she'd do everything in her power to help Temari get strong again. Naruto felt bad, and promised to help Temari too, but he'd handled it very well, like a seasoned jounin would, but she'd known him since he was 5 and he'd survived more hell by then than most jounin had. If there was a way to help Temari be a strong, independent kunoichi again, he would. Even before he'd killed Orochimaru he'd helped her deal with her issues. Do you agree to those terms, Kankuro? Naruto asked calmly. We can't help her in Suna, as next oldest it falls to me to decide what's best for our family. Kankuro said solemnly, sighed and patted Temari's shoulder, she turned and smiled happily at him. Have the papers drawn up and sign them, she may have been a bitch, but she's my sis and I love her. I'll talk to the Council of Wind and make them see reason, Suna will not assist Sound in a war with Konoha. With Orochimaru dead, sound is no longer a threat to us, when he writes the treaty. Ask him to take our cooperation into account. As the son of the Keisuke's and current head of the oldest family in Suna, I offer my apology. If I may ask, I won't mention any of this to him, but can you really beat Gaara without killing him? Kankuro asked calmly. Hi, I promised Hinata and Temari. Naruto said. You sure did, Narutosuma. Temari interrupted happily. Naruto smiled at her. I sure did, Tamarican. I'll save Gaara from himself, I know what he's been through. Come on, Naruto, we need to drop Temari off at the hospital, Inoichi is waiting for her. Kankuro needs to get back to Suna and we need to get ready. We're leaving at noon to find my old teammate. She'll be tough to track down and it'll be near impossible to bring her back, even for you. We'll need every second we can get if you three are going to compete in the finals, and Sakura will need the time to recover and retrain. Jiraiya said seriously, something he rarely did. He's right, Naruto, we need to get going, come on brats. We'll do everything we can for her, Kankuro. Anko said. July 28, 10:41 a.m., outside Tenzaku City, are you sure she's here, Naruto? Jiraiya asked. Naruto smiled. Hi. Call it a feeling, but I know she's here. I forgot to ask. What does she look like? Anko, with Hinata and Tenten, rolled her eyes and sighed. Naruto, you baka, you mean we've been on the road all this time and you never asked what Tsunade looks like? And I thought you were smart. Oops. Naruto said, smiled and rubbed the back of his head with both hands. Hey, why didn't you say anything, pervy sage? Jiraiya just smiled. Not my job, brat. Naruto's sweat dropped. Now, as to what she looks like. That depends on her age. Jiraiya said and saw the confusion on their faces. Tsunade has a special jutsu that lets her change her appearance so she looks like herself at whatever age she wants, from teenager to gray-haired old woman. Oh, just great. Now you tell us that, she'll be impossible to find. Naruto exclaimed and threw his arms up exasperated. Jiraiya didn't even flinch, just gave them a big perverted smile. Actually, she'll be really easy to find. There's a few things you need to know about Tsunade. Jiraiya said and chuckled. First, she has an apprentice named Shizune, a pretty brunette in her early 20s, she has a pet pig she always carries with her. Tsunade might have changed it, but I doubt it. She has long blonde hair she usually wears in 2 ponytails, her favorite outfit is black pants, gray shirt with a big black belt, and a green jacket. If she's still wearing that outfit it shouldn't be too hard to find her. Anko said. In case she's not, there's 3 things about her that make Tsunade stand out. First, she has a wicked temper and could level that castle with a single punch, so don't upset her. Second, and this is part of what will make her so easy to find. She's addicted to strong sake and gambling. And she always loses, her luck is as bad as yours is good, Naruto. Well, that makes it easy, Jiraiya and I will check. Wait a minute, you said 3 things. Would make her easy to find, what's the third thing? Anko asked suspiciously, she knew that smile on his face, but hoped her hunch was wrong. Spill it, Jiraiya, what the last thing about her she doesn't change that'll make her easy to find? Anko asked seriously and glared at him. Her body. Jiraiya said, then saw them glaring at him, and smiled. Fine, but you made me tell you. She has the biggest breasts you've ever seen in your life. Jiraiya said with a huge perverted smile. Thud. Naruto turned and smirked. Tenten had fainted. Hinata-kun, stay here with Tenten-chan, but move off the road to the trees. We'll go into Tenzaku and look for Tsunade. When Tenten wakes up, join us. How long should we look, Anko-sensei? 3 hours, then we'll break for lunch. I've been here for a couple missions. There's a place called the Pretty Lady on the first block inside the gate on the left. they serve good sake and damn good dango. Don't smirk at me like that, Naruto, we all have our little vices. We'll meet there and trade information. If you find her before then use your communicator to call us. Jiraiya may be the Kage of perverts, but he's also one of the Sannin and knows her better than we do. So our info is accurate, which means I don't want one of us to confront her alone just in case. That especially means you, Naruto-kun, promise me you'll call us if you find her. And damn it, I know it'll be you no matter how we do this. Enko said. Naruto sighed. Hi, Enko-sensei. I promise. Naruto, Enko and Jiraiya took off for town, and once inside they split up. Enko went left, Jiraiya right, Naruto straight down the main street. 10 minutes after they split up, Hinata and Tenten arrived at the gate and went in together. They all stopped at every bar and casino they came to and asked about Tsunade by description. Every regular and employee remembered seeing her there repeatedly within the last month. 11:54 a.m. Pervert. A woman screamed in a very powerful voice, then there was a loud smack, then a crash. Naruto stopped when he heard the scream, then saw a big man in a white suit fly through the wall of some little casino head first, across the street and crash into a fruit stand. He was only about 20 feet away, so he ran over to the man to check on him. He was out cold and had a rapidly swelling red imprint of a fist on his face, his nose smashed flat. You want to join your friend? Naruto heard a woman yell from across the street, stood, turned and his jaw dropped. Standing in the new doorway, fists on her hips, was a woman he figured had to be Tsunade. She fit Jiraiya's description, and a younger woman stepped up behind her from inside, carrying a pig. The clothes are right, she looks about 30. Definitely has a temper, and from what she did to this guy she has to be a kunoichi. And her tits are huge. Hana-chan is a double H cup and she'd bust one of Hana's bras if she tried to put it on. She has to be Tsunade. Naruto thought, stepped away from the crowd into the nearby alley and pushed talk on his hidden communicator as he watched them talk to an older man about the damage, the owner he figured. I found a casino on the main street, center of town, she's with Shizun and it looks like they're headed west for a part of town I heard some people call the Red Zone. I'm following her. Naruto said. Click. Naruto, stay hidden and don't let her see your Hiteite. If she knows Leaf Nin are looking for her she'll vanish and we won't find her again for a couple weeks at least. Jiraiya said seriously. Naruto thought a moment, took out a handkerchief, folded it up and tied it around his forehead to cover his Hiteite, then removed his ninja pouches and put them in his backpack. That'll do it. Naruto said, smiled and followed Tsunade openly, like he was headed in the same direction. 11:19 a.m., the coin purse casino. Naruto waited until they separate, followed Shizun until she was alone, then slipped in front of her. Shizun. Shizun was caught off guard and tensed up a moment. How did he sneak up on me like that? Who are you? She asked cautiously. I'm Naruto Uzumaki from Konoha, a friend of mine is seriously injured, I was sent to bring Tsunade back to heal her. If Tsunade doesn't come back then Sakura-kun will never be a kunoichi again, and I refuse to let that happen. She's coming back to Konoha if I have to kick her ass and carry her back over my shoulder. Naruto said firmly as he looked up into Shizun's eyes. Shizun looked into the blonde boy's eyes and shuddered slightly. Something told her, to her shock, that he could actually do it. I haven't seen such determination since. Shizun thought and swallowed hard, unable to even think his name. Hi, I'm Shizun. Sarutobi sent you, so you must be a ninja. Hi, and I am. I have friends outside and would rather do this the easy way. But I doubt she'll listen to me. Jiraiya-sensei said she doesn't like Konoha, but didn't say why. Will you help me or try to stop me? I really hope you help me, I don't want to hurt anyone or destroy this city fighting her. Naruto said seriously and briefly clenched his fists. I believe you, Naruto, and I truly want to help you, but I can't go against. Shizun said, then froze in shock when her breasts were grabbed, firmly but not painfully, she was pulled down into the most intense kiss she'd ever felt in her life, and felt her hardening nipples get pinched and rolled through her shirt. Something filled her very being, a warmth she'd never experienced and lost all will to resist. Then the kiss was broken and her breasts released. She looked downward at Naruto's smiling face with a huge contented smile. What did you do to me, Naruto-kun? Shizune asked dreamily. Call it a special ability I have. It's like a bloodline limit. Will you help me, Shizune-kun? Naruto said with a big foxy smile he knew would just melt her heart. He hadn't lied to her, he did leave out was that special kiss he gave her was a gift from a celestial deity usually referred to as Lady Luck, he just called her Lady-chan. He didn't need to grab her breasts, that was just his own personal addition. Oh hi. Naruto-kun, I'll help you any way I can. Shizune said happily. If she lost a bet, would she honor it regardless of what it was? Even coming back to Konoha with us? Naruto asked. Hi, she'll usually run out on a money debt from gambling, but she'll never welch on a personal bet, if you want her to go back to Konoha and heal your friend. That's what you have to do. Shizune said calmly, then smiled at Naruto. Thank you, Shizune-kun, go back to Tsunade but act like nothing happened. I'll join her at the table in a few minutes. Shizune nodded, then bit her bottom lip nervously. I can't believe I'm going to say this. But can I kiss you first? And squeeze my breasts again? Naruto smiled and nodded. When Shizune kissed him he repeated his special technique, then she left. In Naruto's mind Kyuubi had a huge smile that literally went ear. Now that was smooth. Kid's a natural. Kyuubi said to himself. You're welcome. She said in Naruto's head, unheard by him. Kyuubi turned and saw Lady Luck standing inside his cage, leaned casually against the bars, smiling. You keep being a good boy and I may see what I can do about improving the view in here. Maybe a nice forest. Kyuubi smiled and gave her a polite bow of respect. He'd come to respect her, he even liked her, she was the only person he could talk to on his own level, immortal to immortal. He liked Naruto and his friends. Especially the girls, but they weren't immortal or thousands of years old. Besides, being good seemed to get him access to more beautiful women than being bad, and if there was anything stronger than his desire to kill and destroy, it was sex, so if he had to be a good guy sealed in Naruto he could live with actually enjoyed being good now. Not that he was going to tell anyone. 8 minutes later, casino poker room. Naruto walked out to the table where 3 people were playing, one of them Tsunade. Shizune standing behind her. And took the only open seat, which was on Tsunade's right side. When their hand ended, Naruto casually took out a fat roll of bills in 10,000 Ryu denominations, peeled off 20, put the roll away and put them on the table. Chips. The other 2 players were stunned. Tsunade was almost drooling, already planning a private game with this high roller. You don't belong at this table. Tsunade said calmly as she put her hand over the bills. Let me take you to the 2nd floor, that's where real players like us belong. Tsunade said with a seductive smile and subtle lean forward to show a little more of her massive cleavage. Naruto saw right through her little trick, he could tell she was an expert at this, but compared to him she was a rank amateur. Without even a hint of emotion he looked at her, glanced at her cleavage, not even trying to hide it, and gave a subtle nod. Could be interesting. Lead the way. Naruto said smoothly, stood and followed Tsunade and Shizune towards the stairs. She with you? Naruto asked casually and nodded at Shizune. She's my friend, her name's Shizune, I'm Tsunade. Tsunade said. Nice to meet you, Shizune. Name's Naruto. He said casually as they reached the stairs, followed them up, down a hall to room 7, which had a small sign on it that said, available. He saw Tsunade remove it and enter, followed by Shizune who he followed in. The room was large, about 20 by 20, and very well furnished with all the modern luxuries. Nice place. One of the best casinos in Fire Country. Shizun, would you bring us some sake and snacks? Tsunade said with a smile, then took a seat at the heavy oak table and took out her entire bankroll, $476,300. Hi, Tsunade-kun. Shizun said with a smile, then turned and headed for the small bar/kitchen. She knew Tsunade normally didn't do that, but she knew Tsunade's greed had overwhelmed her common sense. She wanted to impress Naruto, so he'd bet big. I'm sorry Tsunade-kun, but this has to be done, I hope you'll forgive me. Shizun thought. 1:37 p.m., Yama's Hotel, Room 22, across the street. Jiraiya stood near the bed, Anko to his right, Hinata and Tenten sat on the side of the bed facing the wall towards the coin purse casino. In Hinata's lap was Gamakichi. What's happening? He just lost another hand. He's got 132,000 left of his first roll. Gamakichi said, then paused a moment. Gamachibi said, she's falling for it, they'll be done in about an hour, then we can head home, mission accomplished. I wish I could watch this. Jiraiya said, almost depressed. All that money and he won't share it with me. Because you'd spend it on sake and bimbos. Anko said with a smile. Rested again, Hinata activated her Byakugan once again and looked into the room. She could have looked through their clothes too, but wouldn't do that. She'd promised Naruto she'd never do that. Naruto-kun just took out the other roll of bills, the big one, and bet it and the rest of his money. Tsunade is staring at it. Hinata said and giggled. Back in room 7, that's bigger than the first roll. I can't cover that bet. Tsunade said, nervous and a little sad. Now I've got you. Naruto thought. Too bad, I thought you were a real player, you must have something of equal value to bet. Naruto said with a subtle hint of disappointment in his voice, and was sure he let Tsunade catch him looking at her cavernous cleavage. Seeing the biggest score of her life about to slip away, she started thinking fast and saw him looking at her breasts with a lot of lust. No, I can't. But damn it, that's a huge fucking roll of cash, it has to be 10 million at least. The way he's playing, there's no way he could beat my hand. I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I can't let the chance to turn my luck around just get away. Tsunade thought. I have something I can bet I never offered anyone else. Tsunade said seductively, put her cards face down on the table and gently pulled open her gray shirt a couple inches. 2:14 p.m., outside Tenzaku's main gates. Jiraiya, Anko, Hinata and Tenten watched Naruto walk out. Followed by Tsunade and Shizun, Tenten in her arms. Long time Tsunadeheim. Jiraiya said. Tsunade froze, turned and looked at Jiraiya with the most intense, hate-filled scowl you've ever seen, her full ki suddenly directed at him. You sick, perverted son of a bitch, I'll kill you for this. Tsunade roared, raised her right fist and lunged for Jiraiya to take his head off. Jiraiya froze, never in his life had he seen Tsunade so angry. He had no doubts that this time she was going to take his head off, as she'd repeatedly threatened to do over the years. The only thing he could do was shut his eyes, for once he was too scared to move. He heard 4 female gasps, then a moment later heard a light smack of flesh hitting flesh in front of his face. When he didn't feel any pain or light-headed, he opened his eyes and saw a very familiar sight, Tsunade's fist an inch from his face, then he saw the rest. Naruto was standing next to Tsunade, her right wrist firmly in his hand, and a look of utter shock and disbelief on not just Tsunade's face, but the others. Tsunade winced and dropped to her knees, her wrist still held tightly in Naruto's hand. She looked into Naruto's eyes and felt something she hadn't in many years. Fear. I'm sorry, Naruto. Tsunade said humbly. After what had happened in the room, she couldn't stand the thought of having Naruto mad at her. She'd been fully humbled by him, and though she tried everything to get out of her bet, even sleep with him, he'd flatly refused to. She was going back to Konoha whether she wanted to or not. And she didn't. Naruto released her wrist. Please don't do that again, Tsunade. As much as I like you, respect you, and need your help, I can't let you do that. If you can't act like a respected sannin, I'll strip you down to your panties, tie your hands and feet with your clothes, put you over my shoulder and carry you back to Konoha, humiliated and disgraced. Jiraiya's eyes got big as the mental image and reached for his notebook in his jacket. Forget it, Jiraiya, that goes for you too. Now are you two going to act like respite sannin or little kids? Naruto said sternly. Tsunade traded glances with Jiraiya, they were thinking the same thing. I just got talked down to and humbled by a genin. You're right, I was acting like a little bitch. But there's no way I'm going to get stripped and carried back to Konoha like that. I'll honor my bet and heal your friend, I'll even behave, but I want everyone's promise that what you just saw here never happened. He may be a little brat. But he earned my respect in a way I never thought anyone could, deal? Tsunade said firmly. Everyone nodded. Thanks. Bachan. Naruto said with a smile. Not one word, Jiraiya. Or else. Tsunade said very sternly the instant Jiraiya started to react to what Naruto had called her. She didn't like it much, but she could live with it, even learn to like it. Come on, let's get this over with, I'm not looking forward to seeing that place again. July 21st, 5:02 p.m. Naruto's house. As Tsunade walked behind Jiraiya, Enko and Naruto, Tenten happily walking to her left side, she couldn't stop herself from subtly staring at Naruto's butt and yet again thinking about what happened in the casino when she lost that last hand. Flashback. Shocked, stunned, struck dumb. All good terms, but they couldn't hope to even begin to describe what Tsunade felt as she stared blankly down at the cards in front of Naruto. Tsunade slowly began to shake her head. No, you couldn't. I can't have lost. I had you by the balls. How? Tsunade managed to say and began to stand, her eyes darting to the window repeatedly. Don't Tsunadesima, if you do it I'm finished as your apprentice. And your friend? Shizen said seriously, but sadly. It tore at her heart to even think it. Tsunade stopped and looked at her apprentice, her friend. And her surrogate daughter for the last 15 years, even more shocked, if that was possible, but she was. Tsunade's hands twitched a moment as she gripped the table edge, then dropped down into the heavy chair, folded her arms on the table and put her head down. Naruto got up, moved next to Tsunade and gently lifted her head up to look at her. She had tears in her eyes, which totally shocked him to see someone like her break down like that. He helped her up and over to the large couch. Shizen followed and stood by the left arm rest, which he sat next to. Would it really be that bad to go back to Konoha? Naruto asked. Tsunade composed herself, stood and looked at Naruto. You don't understand, there's nothing there for me but bad memories. I'm sorry about your friend, I really am. But I can't go back there. I'll do anything else. Tsunade said passionately. I mean anything else, I'll do the rest of the bet, I'll give you a strip tease that'll be burned into your memory forever, Shizen will strip for you too. I'll even break my personal rule and have sex with her right here in front of you. I'll even have sex with you, something I haven't done with anyone since. In a very long time, but please. Don't make me go back to Konoha. Tsunade pleaded sincerely and began to open the big black belt holding her gray shirt closed, her green jacket was on the back of her chair at the table. No. Naruto said calmly as she grabbed her wrists. Tsunade was stunned, no one, since she first developed, had ever refused a chance to see her breasts. And he'd not only refused, he'd turned down a chance to have sex with her. She knew he was straight, her finely honed instincts told her that. You're very beautiful, Tsunade. But right now I need you to come back to Konoha and heal my friend, if you don't she'll never be a kunoichi again. If reason won't work. I'm really sorry, but I'll have to force you to come with me. Naruto said seriously, relised her wrists and he pushed her back a couple steps then stood. Please Tsunade. Will you return to Konoha with me? Tears still in her eyes, she hardened her expression. I hate breaking a promise, and I'm sorry Naruto, Shizune. But I can't do it. I don't want to hurt you Naruto, you remind me of two very special people I've lost, but I will if you try to force me. Tsunade said as she fastened her belt on her shirt. Please Tsunade, you'll destroy the room. Naruto UCA. Shizune said then froze when she looked at Naruto, her eyes locked with his a moment and what she saw sent a shiver through her body. She swallowed nervously. Please, there must be a way to do this without destroying the room and probably the hotel. Tsunade thought a moment, and had an idea that would get her out of the bed and let her fight Naruto without destroying the room, but still take advantage of her best weapons, her strength, and her massive breasts. You good at taijutsu? Tsunade asked, then smiled when Naruto nodded. I'll make you a bet, double or nothing. I win, you pay me all the money you have on you and you go back to Konoha without me. I'm not heartless though, I'll recommend someone else who can help you heal your friend. If you win, I'll go back to Konoha with you willingly and do everything in my power to help your friend and I'll still do that strip tease and show you the biggest tits you'll ever seen in your life. I'll tell you what the contest is if you accept, so what do you say? Brat. Tsunade said, the last word in a very condescending tone. Naruto caught the tone in her voice on how she said brat and though he didn't show it, she just pissed him off with that, and her terms. I'll accept if you agree to my terms for winning. What do you say? Bachan. Naruto said the last word with a big smile. Her reaction told him she hated to be called that. Gotcha. Naruto thought. Hi, just name it. Tsunade said, visibly upset at being called grandma. She didn't care what his terms were, she was going to make him pay for what he said. My friend is Sakura Haruno, she's a med nin like you, I have a girlfriend named Hinata Hyuga who's also a med nin. If I win you'll not only stay in Konoha, but take over as the 5th Hokage so Sarutobi can retire and just be a grandpa, plus you'll take them both as apprentices. Naruto said. Deal. Tsunade agreed immediately, the very idea of becoming Hokage was the dumbest thing she'd ever heard in her life and she didn't see the big deal, it was nothing but lies and pain as far as she was concerned. I'm not done yet Bachan. Naruto said very cheeky, which made her right eyebrow twitch and her hands clench into fists. He saw Shizune holding in her laughter at his terms, she did several gestures and mouthed something from behind Tsunade that made him smile. I'll accept your terms, but with one little change. You do it for me any time I want you to, no complaints. During and after that you'll do anything I want you to sexually or otherwise, and I agree to your terms if you win, these are non-negotiable. Naruto said confidently. Tsunade was ready to explode, but held it in, she knew she had to stay focused if she wanted to win. She didn't know how, but something about Naruto really got to her in a way no one else ever had. Deal. Follow me into the bedroom and I'll tell you what the challenge is. Tsunade said with a hard but calm voice, then walked towards the bedroom door which was next to the right end of the couch. Once inside, Shizune closed the door behind him. Tsunade turned to him. The bedroom was almost as large as the main room, but it was dominated by what he had called a Kage-sized bed, it could sleep 6 easily. My challenge is simple, all you have to do is beat me in a special taijutsu match. Tsunade said with a smile. Jiraiya had told him Tsunade had 2 specialties she excelled at like no one else, medical jutsu and taijutsu, which accounted for her seemingly limitless physical strength. I know you're up to something, so what's the catch? As I said, it's simple. We get on the bed, all you have to do is strip me nude and fuck me, the moment you win, but if I get your cock in my mouth I win. Tsunade said calmly. Naruto tensed up. I can't do that, I promised Hinata she'd be my first when we get married in 2 years and I will not break a promise. Tsunade flinched as she heard Shizune gasp. I'll give him credit, Brat's stronger than I thought and I'll give him credit for his loyalty to her, but he won't weasel out of this. Tsunade thought. I can respect that. So I'll compromise, let's see how tough you are, brat. We'll wrestle on the bed, in our underwear. Win is by submission only, and it has to involve my tits, pussy, or both. No pressure points, no joint locks, and no jutsu, just your body. Make me submit to you and I'll be your willing bitch. Tsunade said. Naruto let that soak in a moment, then heard two voices in his head, one male, the other female. He smiled. Deal, so how do you win? Naruto asked calmly, though he had a very good idea what she'd say. At this type of fight against a woman she has only one target. Tsunade smiled sadistically. I think you know already, brat. I'm going to twist your cock and bust your balls. I promise you though, any damage I do I'll heal, you have my solemn vow on that. Tsunade said, that last part sincerely. Naruto could tell she meant it, and a glance at Shizune confirmed it. Deal. Naruto said, then removed his orange jacket. And tossed it by the wall, then his shirt, shoes and finally his pants, then stood there in his orange boxers with a big green frog face over the crotch. Tsunade and Shizune giggled. Cute. Tsunade said amused, then removed her sandals first, then her pants, which she handed to Shizune, then undid her belt and pulled off her shirt with a flourish, like it was some show, and tossed it to Shizune, who caught it. She didn't have a bra on. Naruto couldn't stop himself from gasping in shock and awe when he saw her bare breasts hang in the air for a moment then flop down onto her belly and half cover her almost boxer-like thick cloth white panties. They were incredible. Wide, thick, they hung almost to her crotch, her slightly puffy reddish areola were as big as his face and topped by thick nipples as long as his thumb. Wow! Naruto said, obviously impressed. What's wrong, brat? Never seen a set of M-cup tits before. Tsunade asked calmly, and smiled a little bigger when Naruto slowly shook his head no. Well, get a good look, brat, because you're the only man to see these in a long time, and if you're lucky you'll touch them before I bust your balls, because you'll never see 'em again. A moment later Naruto smirked. We'll see. Naruto's mindscape, I don't believe you told him to do that to her. And you're the celestial being? Kyuubi said and started to laugh. If the mortals knew the real you they'd. Oh, shut up or I'll tell Naruto your true name. Lady Luck interrupted. I was dealing with mortals thousands of years before you were born. This is within my sphere of influence. And more. She said, then gave him a sly wink and smile. Kyuubi swallowed very nervously when she mentioned telling Naruto his true name, and just smiled weakly at the absolute humiliation. Naruto would literally own him if she told Naruto his true name. Lady Luck giggled briefly. Relax, Kyuubi, I wouldn't do that unless there were no other options. And at this point his body couldn't handle your full power. He needs a few more years before he'll be strong enough to handle 9 tails. For now he can handle what's coming with 6 tails. What about the other half of? Kyuubi said, then stopped when she glared at him. Don't even say it, he might hear you, Lady Luck interrupted. Real-world Naruto joined Tsunade on the bed and Ni walked to the middle, about 4 feet from Tsunade and glanced at Shizune. I can't believe I'm going to do this. Shizune thought, then removed her shirt and pants, leaving her only in panties, her full firm D cups on display. Shizune blushed lightly and smiled when Naruto gave her an appreciative smile. I felt overdressed. Ready. Wrestle. The instant Shizune said wrestle, Naruto used all the speed he had to send his right hand between Tsunade's breasts, shielding her body like armor, and down the front of her panties. He slipped his middle and index fingers inside her and drove his thumb into the base of her clit. His left shot forward, he buried his fingers deep into the flesh near the base of her right breast, found what he was looking for and clamped down hard on both areas. Tsunade froze in agonizing pain on a level even she'd never experienced just before her right hand reached his undefended crotch. He looked deep into her shocked, teary eyes and knew he had her beaten. A very close friend of mine taught me this. She guaranteed me no woman can resist this no matter how tough she is. I know you're curious, so go ahead and pull em down. Don't try anything though. As a medneen you know female anatomy even better than I do, so you know what I can do to you if I wanted to. He saw her gently nod yes as she tried to fight back the agony and her tears. He waited a moment while she carefully pulled his boxers to the top of his knees. Shizun gasped in awe and covered her mouth with both hands. Dear Kami, he's hung like a bull, and he's not even hard. Tsunade thought as she looked down. I'll ask you once politely, out of respect, if you refuse I'll be upset. Now. Do you submit? Naruto said calmly. Hi, I submit to you, you beat me and won the bet. I'm your most willing bitch Narutosuma. Tsunade said sincerely. When Naruto released her a moment later she sighed in relief and fell onto her back, her hands shooting to her right breast and down her panties to her pussy. Oh Kami. How the hell did you do that to me? Shizun. Naruto said and motioned to Tsunade. Shizun immediately jumped onto the bed at Tsunade's side, flashed through the hand signs and started healing Tsunade, making her moan in pleasure. Naruto pulled up his boxers, rolled off the bed and slipped on his shirt, careful not to dislodge the tiny passenger at the collar and whispered to the tiny toad. A moment later he replied and Naruto smiled. When you feel better, I want to get going, my friends will be waiting for us outside the main gate. As I said earlier, I'm engaged to Hinataken. I promised her, her father and the old man I wouldn't do certain things with anyone until we were married. But there are a few things I can do with both of you. If you want me to you'll honor your bet without complaining that I promise you both I'll do anything I can to help you. It's obvious you've both lost people very close to your hearts. I won't press you, but if you'll let me I know I can help you both. Shizun finished healing Tsunade and looked into her eyes a moment, she smiled slightly when Tsunade reluctantly nodded. Hi, Naruto-kun. Naruto finished getting dressed, went around the bed, helped Tsunade off it and gently took her cheeks in his hands. I need you to trust me Tsunade-kun and open your heart. Will you do this? Tsunade looked down into his eyes, normally she'd have punched him through the wall, but she saw something in his eyes radiating from his soul that reminded her so much of her little brother and lover Danit. Almost scared her, but she just couldn't resist him, something deep inside her wouldn't let her. Hi. Naruto-kun. Tsunade aid softly and lovingly, like she had to Dan and her little brother. Naruto closed his eyes a moment, went into his mindscape for a quick talk with Lady Luck, returned to reality as he opened his eyes, called up all her power and looked into her eyes. I don't want to replace anyone you've lost, but I'd really like to be your friend, and except, I'd like you to be my Bachan. Naruto said gently, then when Tsunade smiled he leaned in, planted a kiss on her lips and poured all of Lady Luck's power into Tsunade to heal her soul. When he broke the kiss a minute later Tsunade fell backwards onto the bed, eyes still closed and a happy smile on her face. A few moments later Shizun stepped in front of him. Did you do to Tsunade-sama what you did to me earlier? Shizun asked calmly. Basically, just stronger. You too? Naruto asked, and when she nodded he put his hands on her cheeks and kissed her, but didn't need to use as much power on her as he did on Tsunade. Shizun wobbled a moment after he released the kiss, and smiled. She hadn't felt this good in many years, and the emotional pain was gone, the memories just weren't as painful as they used to be. She'll open her eyes in a minute, she's just a little overwhelmed right now. I'll be downstairs, join me when you're ready and we'll leave. Naruto said, smiled and left the bedroom. Shizun watched Tsunade a minute before she opened her eyes and sat up with a genuinely happy smile she hadn't seen in a very long time. End flashback. It's almost 6, let's stop here for tonight and eat some supper, we'll head out first thing tomorrow morning after breakfast. If we use the trees and head straight for Konoha we can be there in about 3 hours. No need to kill ourselves rushing home tonight, Tsunade-san and Shizun-san will need to be rested and clear-headed to help Sakura-kun. Enko said after she signaled for a stop. Naruto, Hinata and Tenten nodded. Shizun set up our beds. Hinata, can I talk to you alone? Tsunade said. Hinata nodded almost nervously and followed Tsunade away from the others. I understand you're engaged to Naruto. Tsunade said calmly. Hi, Tsunade-sama. Hinata said respectfully, but slightly nervous to be in Tsunade's presence. Everyone that had studied healing jutsu knew about Tsunade, her skills were legendary, the rest she'd learned from Jiraiya with her friends. I also heard that you want to be a med nin. What's your medic rank? Tsunade asked. Tsunade wants to know about me. Hinata thought excitedly. Level 2, Class B. Tsunade's eyebrows went up slightly. Impressive for a genin. What can you tell me about Sakura Haruno? Sakura-kun is a sweet girl, but she kinda reminds me of you now. She has a temper too. Hinata said and watched Tsunade's reaction carefully. She was relieved when Tsunade only smirked. And chuckled lightly, obviously amused. Sounds like me. Tsunade said as she barely held back a laugh. She's the best med nin of our class and... Hinata said. Wait. Tsunade interrupted, looking slightly annoyed. Naruto never mentioned that. What's her medic rank? Hinata fidgeted a moment, her confidence was dropping fast. She's L, level T3. C, Class C. Hinata said nervously, feeling like she was 6 again being grilled by her father. Tsunade's eyes opened wide and she took a step back, some awe showing on her face. Kami. And she's a genin? Tsunade asked, then smiled when Hinata nodded. That's almost the rank I was at her age, that's damn impressive. She must have almost perfect chakra control. Hi, Tsunade-sama, better than everyone we know, except Naruto-kun, many of the Jounin and Hokage-sama. Hinata said immediately. Tsunade nodded, she was definitely impressed, and a little annoyed Naruto hadn't told her any of this. If she'd know she might have come just for Sakura, the girl was very gifted. If Shora is so good, how'd she get hurt so bad she couldn't heal herself? Tsunade asked as she crossed her arms over her chest menacingly, her face now emotionless. If Sakura is that good, then how in Kami's name did she get hurt so bad? The old man would never send genin on a mission where something like that could happen. Tsunade thought. Hinata directed them to a nearby fallen tree to sit on, and she was afraid she might faint if she didn't sit down soon. Once they were seated, Hinata told Tsunade the whole story about Sakura's match, both what she'd seen and what Naruto told her, no detail was left out. Tsunade listened to Hinata's story. Outside she was calm, but inside, the more she heard the madder she got. And by the time Hinata finished with the repository on her recovery and the injuries, she was absolutely boiling mad. They were just inside the forest of giant trees that surrounded Konoha for hundreds of miles, so when they heard the scream of rage everyone turned in time to see Tsunade punch a tree whose trunk must have been 30 feet thick. It snapped in half like a twig and collapsed, crushing about a dozen smaller trees. Jiraiya swallowed nervously. Somebody is about to get hurt. Naruto Uzumaki, get your ass over here. Tsunade roared in rage. I'll see that they give you a funeral worthy of a Kage. Jiraiya said seriously. Thanks. Naruto said dryly and walked toward Tsunade. He wasn't really worried she'd kill him. Well, maybe a little bit, but he had a feeling that this was about Sakura. When he reached Hinata he gave her a kiss and sent her back to the campsite. You wanted to see me, Bachan? Naruto asked, only slightly nervous. Tsunade twisted Naruto's shirt in her left fist and lifted him 6 inches off the ground so they were eye to eye. Why the fuck didn't you tell me about Sakura? If you had, this shit wouldn't have been necessary, I'd have come back right away to help someone like her. Tsunade said calmly, at least her voice was calm. Naruto let out a nervous laugh. I think that's Jiraiya's fault, he said we'd have to force you to return, even to help Sakura. Tsunade dropped Naruto to his feet, slowly turned and locked her death glare on her target. Jiraiya! Tsunade roared in rage, the trees around them actually shook from the force of her voice. Jiraiya paled as white as his hair, he knew that new levels of pain were coming. I'm dead. Anko smirked and nodded. Don't worry, we'll give you a big funeral. Anko said seriously, but inside was laughing her ass off. She knew Naruto wouldn't let Tsunade actually kill him. Hurt him, yes. But kill him, no. July 22nd, 8:49 a.m., 1 mile from Konoha, two Naruto clones grumbled as they walked along the road, one in front, the other in back of an improvised stretcher. On that stretcher, moaning in pain, was a heavy bandaged Jiraiya. You could see his right eye, left arm, and most of his left leg, the rest was wrapped in bandages to keep him immobile. I'm going to get you for this, Jiraiya. I had to carry your ass all the way. Come on, Bachan, couldn't you just heal him, eh? Forget it, brat, I don't care how much pain he's in, he'll live. Besides, he'll still be a shinobi when he heals. I didn't hurt him that bad. Tsunade said with a happy smirk. Didn't hurt him that bad? The real Naruto said from in front of her, turned around and walked backwards. You broke his jaw, the left side of his face, his right arm in 4 places, 7 ribs are broken, 3 are fractured, and his leg is broken in 2 places, not to mention the internal damage, and that if I hadn't stepped in you would have castrated him. Naruto said, exasperated. Tsunade smiled happily. Oh come on, I wasn't going to castrate him. Well, not completely, he'd have been fine with just one. Jiraiya whimpered loudly. He's had worse. Tsunade said casually. And you pro-baby did it. Naruto said as he turned around. I know I'm gonna pay for that, but anything Naruto-kun does to me will be worth it, no matter how painful or humiliating. Tsunade thought. Konoha main gate. The 2 Chunin guards were staring at Jiraiya in shock as they greeted Anko and checked her papers. What happened to Jiraiya-sama? One asked. Accident. Naruto said. Tsunade-sama. Welcome to Konoha. The other guard said, nervous but excited at meeting the legendary Med-nin. Yeah. Tsunade said emotionlessly. The first guard could tell Tsunade didn't want to be there, but he wasn't going to say anything, he just unlocked the gate and let them in. They entered and immediately headed for the hospital, except for Anko, who went to the tower to inform the Hokage. Hospital. 12 minutes later, the instant they entered the hospital, Naruto saw awe on the face of every nurse and doctor. Tsunade had gone right to the front desk and asked what room Sakura Haruno was in, but she'd done it in a voice that would have made Gaara shit his pants in fear. He knew she didn't want to be there, but he also knew that she also respected Sakura for her skills as a med-nin, as would do everything in her power to be sure Sakura continued that very promising career. That was one thing Tsunade never joked about. He knew she had a lot of fuels, but when it came to being a med-nin, and talented people like Sakura, she didn't mess around. It was one of the few things she took very seriously. They finally reached Sakura's room, and when they walked in, Sakura turned to them, smiled, saw Tsunade, and her eyes got as big as saucers. Let's see what wrong with you that these so-called medics couldn't handle. Tsunade said seriously, flashed through several hand signs and activated a powerful diagnostic jutsu. She slowly ran her hands, now glowing green, down Sakura's body, starting at her head. When she reached Sakura's chest, she paused a moment and frowned. She did it again at her lower stomach. When she finished, she cracked her neck and sighed. You're a tough little bitch, I'll give you credit on that. No wonder they called me in, you're lucky to be alive, Sakura. Don't worry, I'll have you on your feet and training for the finals in a week. Tsunade said seriously, but with a smile. Thank you, Tsunade-sama. Sakura said, stars in her eyes at meeting the legendary med-nin. The rest of what you did we'll discuss later. Tsunade said seriously, without the smile, turned and left the room. They heard Tsunade yelling for nurses from the hallway. You're going to be fine, Sakura-kun, I promise. Naruto said warmly and took her hand. She squeezed his. We'll be back later, it's been a long trip and we need to clean up. Naruto said with a big grin, leaned down and kissed her forehead. You do stink a little. Sakura said playfully. Hinata giggled, took Naruto's hand and led them out of the room. 12:18 p.m., Hokage's office. Tsunade walked into his office, almost slamming the door behind her, and sat in the right chair in front of his desk. You want to see me, old man? Sarutobi almost smiled, but held it in. Hi. You've examined Sakura Haruno? Hi, she has some bone fragments near the base of her spinal column and close to her heart. She's lucky to even be alive. Tsunade said seriously. Can you help her? Sarutobi asked calmly. I can. This place can use all the good med Nina can get. I won't let what happened before happen again. At least you're still following my advice about teams, and I saw some of my ideas at the hospital too. You did something right at least. Tsunade said, and saw Sarutobi's face show the very faintest signs of disappointment about what she'd said. She sighed. Look, I came back just to help Sakura. Swad said, then a small smile appeared on her face. That brat you sent after me is one talented little shit. I've never met anyone that can do what he does. Tell me about him. Sarutobi smiled, he could see her feelings for him in her eyes and on her face. Have her tits gotten bigger since she left, or am I getting senile? Sarutobi thought, hoping it was the first. July 23, 7:05 a.m., hospital operating room. Shizun checked Sakura's vitals and nodded. She's out, Tsunade-sama. Tsunade nodded to Shizun and the other med nin in the room. She'd personally selected them. We'll start with the fragments near her heart, and if anyone slips up and this girl dies or gets crippled, you'll be next. Tsunade said in an absolutely dead voice. Even Shizun shuddered. She'd only seen Tsunade like this once before and knew that was no idle threat. She'd kill them. Tsunade focused and created a chakra scalpel sharper than any metal blade could hope to be with her right hand, and very carefully, but masterfully cut open Sakura's chest with it while Shizun and the Sakura's blood flow and kept her alive. 3 hours, 12 minutes later, Tsunade walked out of the operating room into the hallway as Sakura was taken to recovery. She pulled down her mask, wiped her forehead and smiled tiredly. We did it, Shizun. Shizun smiled happily as she pulled her mask down. I've never seen such delicate work, Tsunade-kun, you were incredible. Shizun said, then glanced around to be sure no one was listening. Naruto-kun will be proud of you. I did it for Sakura, but thanks Shizune-kun. I know he's still upset about Jiraiya, but this should get me some mercy. Tsunade said quietly so only Shizun heard her. Care to buy your sensei some lunch and a bottle of sake? Tsunade asked. Shizun sighed and shrugged. Hi, this once I'll buy, I'll even celebrate with you. But only one bottle, you still have to heal Jiraiya later. Tsunade smiled. Let's get out of these gowns. Enko mentioned a restaurant where we can get a good breakfast and some sake. Shizun nodded. July 30th, 8 a.m., Konoha Hospital. Sakura stood from her wheelchair and took a deep breath of the fresh morning air, happy to finally be out of the hospital as a patient. She nodded to the nurse behind her who took the wheelchair back inside. All her friends were standing there smiling, with Enko and her new sensei Tsunade. Are you gonna hug me or do I have to hurt you? Sakura said with a big smile, then her friends swarmed her. Tsunade let it go on a few minutes then broke it up. Now that you're healed, we have some things to talk about, Sakura. Like how you can open the chakra gates so easily. Everyone's face got serious, the memory was still fresh in their minds. Naruto, Hinata, you two can stay, everyone will have to leave. You can see her later. Tsunade said, returned their group nod then watched them leave. We can talk at my house. Naruto said, then smiled when Tsunade nodded. Lead the way, brat. Tsunade said calmly. As she followed them she still couldn't believe what Sarutobi had told her about Naruto. Flashback: Enko told me you came back because you lost a bet to Naruto. She didn't have any details of what it was, just that you agreed to return to Konoha to heal Sakura, but also that you agreed to become the 5th Hokage. Sarutobi said calmly. Tsunade frowned and grumbled. Hi, I don't know how he did it, but there's just something about that brat I can't figure out. I'll tell you, but this is an S-rank secret, only a handful of people know this. Do you agree to keep what I'm about to tell you a secret? Sarutobi asked, then smiled when she nodded. Naruto had the Kyuubi sealed in him when he was born by Minato. It was the only way to stop it. Tsunade gasped in shock. Sarutobi opened his desk drawer and took out a very thick manila folder and put it on the desk in front of Tsunade. There's a lot more. This is Naruto's private file, Hokage eyes only. Read it. Tsunade took the folder, unsealed it and opened it. Unlike most people, his file started even before he was born. Tsunade almost fell out of her chair when she saw who his parents were. She had to look in his eyes. He's really high, but he doesn't know. I'm going to tell him when he turns 15 and can claim his rightful inheritance. Sarutobi said. Sunda went back to reading. As she read about the first 5 years of his life, the frown on her face turned into an increasingly intense snarl of rage at how he'd been treated. She couldn't believe the list of injuries he'd suffered. Most experienced jounin were never hurt this much, even during the war. She was amazed he was even alive, then remembered his guest and knew why. Just as she got to the incident in the alley when he was 5, she slammed the folder on the desk and stood, almost in a full rage. I'll kill him. He should have been the fucking hero of this shithole and they treated him like less than garbage when they should have been kissing his ass. Tsunade roared in rage. The secretary rushed in, and froze when Tsunade gave her the coldest glare she'd ever seen in her life. She paled in terror, immediately turned and ran out, shutting the door behind her. Sarutobi sighed and quickly put a sound seal on the room. Please calm down Tsunade and sit. Tsunade took several deep breaths to calm down, sat, picked the folder up and continued reading. As she read, she quickly realized why Naruto beat her so easily, and that if he wanted to he could have actually killed her. She knew she never really stood a chance against him, not because of Kyuubi's power, but because of what it said had happened when he was 5. As a gambler she believed in Lady Luck, but to find out that not only was she a real deity, but had actually blessed Naruto and given him this incredible power. That he actually talked to her on a regular basis simply astounded her. All that power and he acts like a normal kid. Maybe I can get him to introduce her to me. She was in there, how he'd saved Hinata, what was said, his training by every clan, his nightly trips out, chasing the Daimo's cat, his special relationship with Enko Mitarashi, the incident with the Uchiha, everything up to and including his battle with Orochimaru and the Chunin exams. What put the biggest smile on her face was that Orochimaru was dead. She actually burst out laughing hard when she read that. She read the list of jutsu he knew. There were only a handful of people in Konoha that knew more. It simply amazed her that overall, he was almost on par with Sarutobi, but not quite. He was definitely stronger than her though, there was no doubt about that. Even if he had to use Kyuubi and her power to reach that level, it was still incredible. On his own he could match a mid-level jounin in skill and power. With her power and the 6 tails of Kyuubi's chakra he could access, he could almost match Sarutobi's full power. No wonder he'd caught Orochimaru off guard. Even after the first encounter he underestimated Naruto and it cost him his life. Not that she cared, she never liked that snake bastard anyway. He'd always creeped her out, even as kids. Sarutobi watched her finish, closed the folder and handed it back to him. Tsunade slumped in her chair, closed her eyes and thought for several minutes before she opened them, straightened up and sighed. I owe you an apology, sensei. Sarutobi's eyebrows went up, she hadn't called him that since she was a kid. I'm amazed you haven't killed half the people in Konoha for what they've done to him. You handled this better than I would have. From what the file said, most of them have changed their mind about him, they even like him. They would have been outraged at how he was treated. Minato gave his life for this place and they treated his final request like garbage. Kushina would have beheaded most of Konoha by now, civilians and shinobi. This place has changed since I left. I guess it's not too bad a place to live. Tsunade said, then sighed again. I guess I could learn to care about this place as much as you as long as Naruto is here and they treat him well. But I'll tell you this, old man. After I'm Hokage, I'll personally kill anyone that mistreats Naruto. This isn't negotiable. I'll be Hokage, but I'll do it on my terms, and I won't bow to that fucking council either. Any of those dried up bastards insult him and their history. I'm going to clean up the rest of this shithole and run it like it should be. Tsunade said coldly. Sarutobi sighed inwardly. He knew she was serious and wasn't going to back down, even for him. Done. Once you've healed Sakura, I'll arrange a meeting with the council and announce you as my replacement and fifth Hokage. I'll support any decisions you make. He would have done more, but he had too much history with the current members, but Tsunade wouldn't have that problem. He knew at least 3 members that wouldn't be there for much longer. Tsunade smiled. Thanks. Sarutobi sensei. Tsunade said as she stood, then leaned over the desk, kissed his nose and left. As soon as she shut the door, he blushed bright red and face planted on his desk. End flashback. Naruto's house. Tsunade sat on the couch, Naruto and Hinata were in the chair to her left and right, between them stood Sakura. Okay Sakura, I want to know everything you can do, specifically about the gates and that black stuff that appeared briefly when Naruto confronted you. I think I have a split personality. I usually see her when I get really emotional. She looks like me, but is like a negative. She's all black with a white outline, and on her forehead is the kanji for inner Sakura. She's me, but not me, she. Sakura said. Wait. Tsunade interrupted and seemed to be thinking a moment. This other you, inner Sakura, she's more aggressive than you, and usually angry, right? Tsunade asked, then smirked when Sakura nodded. I thought so. You have a bloodline limit Sakura, that's what she is. She's a living representation of all your repressed emotions, like your true feeling brought to life. She's what lets you open the gates, am I right? Sora was stunned. She'd never really given her other self that much thought, but now everything suddenly made sense. She felt really stupid for not thinking of this herself. She normally suppressed her other self. Hi, Tsunadesima. Tsunadesima. But the Haruno aren't even a clan. How could she have a bloodline limit like me if her parents didn't? Hinata asked. I don't know, but I intend to find out. With Sakura's permission, I'll take some blood samples from her and her parents and have them examined. Tsunade said. You can't do that. Sakura said nervously. My father died when I was little. Sakura said sadly. Tsunade winced, she hadn't known that. I'm sorry Sakura, I never thought to ask, and only met your mother Sakari a couple times when she visited you after the operation. Tsunade thought for a moment. Sakura, I want to do a test and I need you to trust us. I trust Naruto-kun with my life. Sakura said immediately and confidently. Tsunade glanced at Naruto. His friends have total trust in him, and I don't doubt they'd die for him without hesitation. Tsunade thought and smiled. As I understand what happened, after the match, your inner self wanted out. I want you to let her out. Tsunade said, then saw Sakura get nervous. Trust me Sakura, she may be more aggressive than you, but I think she likes Naruto as much as you do and would listen to him. Sakura nodded. She was nervous but she trusted Naruto will her life. She relaxed, closed her eyes and went into her mindscape where she found inner Sakura just floating there. Naruto watched Sakura, then saw it, the thick black liquid from the arena. It slowly seeped out through Sakura's skin, turning it, her hair and her clothes absolutely black. She looked like a photo negatives he'd seen. He stood and moved by Tsunade as it completely covered Sakura, then she opened her eyes, which were also black. "Sakura-kun. Call me Inkura Naruto-kun," she said in an almost twin voice. You're even better looking in person. If I thought I had a chance of taking you from Hinata, I'd fuck you right here," Inkura said with a devious smile. Hinata was a little shocked, but not totally surprised. She knew Sakura liked Naruto, but then most of the females in say the same thing. She wasn't worried though, she knew Naruto would never betray her. "Cool it. You know why you're here, Inkura, so you can cooperate or we can send you back into her mind," Tsunade said very sternly. Fine. Just having a little fun, this is my first time out." "So what do you want me to do?" Inkura asked. "Just testing a theory. Just make a couple bush-ins," Tsunade said casually. Inkura laughed. "That's it? I thought this was going to be fun," Inkura said and flashed through the hand signs. "Bushin," Inkura said almost bored. But nothing happened. "What the fuck?" Inkura exclaimed. "I thought so, whatever that is that lets you take her over, is impervious to chakra. Hinata, scan her a diagnostic jutsu," Tsunade said. Hinata nodded, stood, went to the anxious Inkura, did the hand signs, and when her hands glowed green she held them to Inkura, going up and down her body several times. "I can't detect anything, it's like she not there." "You mean if I come out we can't use jutsu?" Inkura asked, half angry, half depressed. "That's right. But I think that can be used to our advantage on a mission," Tsunade said, suddenly pulled a kunai from Naruto's weapon pouch and threw it at Inkura, who crossed her arms over her face out of reflex. It bounced off and clanked on the floor. "Hey, watch it, you could've," Inkura said angrily, then saw it on the floor at her feet, and checked herself for injuries. "I'm not hurt. It didn't penetrate." "Cool," Inkura said, the last word very excitedly, and punched the air. "A little warning next time, Tsunade, okay?" Naruto said. Tsunade smiled. Hi. August 1st, 8 a.m., Blue Leaf Hotel, Room 14, security hotel used by the hospital. Across the street from it, she heard a knock on her door, and though still slightly shaken from what happened at the Chunin exams in her match, she'd had several guests come to check on her, the most recent being her opponent to apologize for what happened. Checking her t-shirt and shorts to be sure she was decent, she opened the door. And was totally caught off guard by who was there. "I remember you. Would you like to come in?" she asked. Her guest just nodded and walked in. Seeing how her guest was dressed reminded her of home, and her t-shirt did nothing to hide the ample chest, which made her uncomfortable for some reason, so she grabbed her coat and slipped it on. She'd have felt better if she had her weapons, but she was on a medical watch and couldn't have any until she was cleared. "Shino Aburame, right?" she asked. Shino nodded. "Not that I mind, but why did you come to see me?" "I know why Naruto, Kurenai, Inoichi, those Jounin and even Sakura came by. Especially Sakura, since she nearly handed me my head wrapped in my ass," Fubiki said with a nervous giggle. Shino almost smirked at her joke and the mental image it created. His bugs, however, in their own way, were highly amused. "Nice coat," Shino said in his normal monotone voice. "Nice coat? He came to see me to tell me I have a nice coat, what the hell is?" Fubiki thought, then an odd thought popped in her mind. "Is that your way of saying you like me?" Fubiki asked. When she saw him nod, her jaw dropped in shock. "I have to know why." Shino silently sighed and gently cracked his neck at what he was about to do. "Your match against Sakura. Your moves were elegant, your attacks were intelligent and efficient, through most of the match you remaining focused, you remained conscious in the face of certain death. And I like your choice of attire. It was the most Shino had said at once in several years. The last time was with Naruto when he was training with his clan. Fubiki was stunned. She knew the common information about the Aburame clan. Bug users, logical and emotionless, not big talkers. She tried to read him, but couldn't. Thank you. Fubiki said with a small smile. He gave her a small nod, then turned and headed for the door. For some reason this made her panic. Shino. She called out, trying not to sound desperate for company. I've been stuck in here or the hospital since the exams. Would you take me out for some breakfast? I can't leave on my own, but if a respected shinobi like you escorts me I can go out. She said, unable to hide all her emotions. Shino stopped when she called his name and listened to her obviously desperate plea for company. Except for his close friends from his academy class, most people found him creepy, especially most girls. She'd seen his match, his bugs, and wasn't the least bit bothered by them as far as he could tell. He nodded, opened the door, stepped aside and waited for her to leave first. Besides, if he told his mother he walked out before her she'd give him the glare, and once was enough in a lifetime. Sure, he'd been 6 at the time, but her face at that moment was still the most terrifying sight he'd ever seen. The absolute disappointment on her face still drove him to never fail her again. A big smile covered her face for just a moment, then she suppressed it. She didn't want to risk embarrassing him with an emotional display. If he liked her how she was before, that's what she'd be again. Inoichi and Kurenai had told her that if she wanted to be released, she needed to find herself again and a reason to go on. Now she had a better reason than ever, and since he didn't waste time neither would she. She was going to become Fubiki Aburame. As she followed him out of the hotel, she had to sign out under Shino's care, not that she'd try but she knew she couldn't get out of Konoha if she wanted to. And at the moment, her home in grass was quickly becoming an old memory. As was her loyalty to them. Her teammates, who she thought she trusted, had simply left her after the exams ended, no messages, to checking on her as friends or even teammates, they just returned home. Hell, she hadn't even received a form letter from her sensei or village leader, nothing. Fuck him, I would have at least checked on them. If they can't even do that they don't deserve my loyalty. I devote my life to becoming the best kunoichi in grass country. And this is how they repay my loyalty. She knew kunoichi didn't get the same respect as the men, even the top kunoichi in grass, elite jounin, got the same level of respect as the low-level jounin men. She noticed during her time in Konoha they didn't do that here. You were respected for your skill, regardless of your gender. Her guards had shown Kurenai the same respect they had Inoichi. As he walked the bug he'd planted on her relayed information about her to him. Her emotions had spiked several times, anger, disgust, betrayal, all easily identified by his bug, but based on what he saw from her it wasn't directed at him, or even Konoha. He ran the list of names on the visitors list when he'd arrived. He hadn't seen the names of her teammates. And thinking about it, he hadn't seen them around Konoha since the exams. They abandoned her, teammates never abandon each other. Shino thought, inside he got rather angry at that. As an Aburame and bug user the hive was all important, be it your clan, your family, friends, or just your teammates, loyalty to them above yourself was all important. In the insect world hive insects worked together or they died, the group was more important than the individual. This type of loyalty to friends, family and teammates was the very heart of all Aburame. And just the thought of her teammates simply abandoning her deeply offended, disgusted and angered him to the very core of who he was as a person, a man and a shinobi. To him, to betray your collective was an unforgivable act. He suddenly stopped and turned to Fubiki. Do you wish to stay in Konoha? He asked, his monotone voice showed none of his feelings. Fubiki was caught totally off guard. She wasn't looking forward to being sent back to grass. To think about staying was one thing, but he basically just asked her if she wanted to defect to Konoha. Does he know? She thought, but if this was a genuine offer she couldn't pass it up. Before the exams the mere thought of betraying Grass was beyond her, but now. Hi, I've been abandoned by my team and my country, they're no longer worthy of my loyalty. She said quietly, but sincerely. Shino nodded, turned and headed for the Hokage Tower. 8:17 a.m., Hokage Tower. Sarutobi blew out a plume of smoke from his pipe. You're sure about her, Shino? Sarutobi asked seriously. Shinobi defection was extremely rare, especially from one elemental country to another. When he saw Shino nod he gave a silent signal and two ANBU appeared. I want to speak to Kurenai Yuhi and Inoichi Yamanaka immediately. The ANBU vanished immediately. Please send in Fubiki and wait outside, I wish to speak to her alone. Sarutobi said calmly. Shino nodded, turned and left the room, sending in Fubiki. He took a seat and waited patiently, something he was an expert at. After 10 minutes Kurenai and Inoichi entered the waiting room. He nodded to Kurenai and Inoichi, who nodded back, then both entered the Hokage's office. A few moments later he turned to the nearby corner potted plant. On the leaf was a green beetle he'd never seen before. On a nearby leaf he noticed the praying mantis. As the beetle passed the mantis moved to strike, but amazingly the beetle was even faster to react. It seemed to lock down on the leaf like a turtle. He watched, amazed, as the quarter-inch beetle withstood every attempt by the almost 2-inch mantis to lift it off the leaf, or even penetrate its shell. After several minutes the mantis simply gave up and moved up the plant. Once it was safe the beetle, shaped like a dome on legs, opened up and continued on. He moved close and using all his skills, and a trick he knew, got the little beetle to join him. It took several minutes, but using a select few of his special bugs he got a conversation going with it. There was a buzz at the secretary's desk, then she told him to go in. Shino stood, quietly entered, shut the door behind him, walked to the desk and stood to the right of the sitting Fubiki. He gave Sarutobi a nod. Sarutobi gave a quiet snort like he wanted to laugh, but didn't. The entire Aburame clan were like that, they rarely spoke, even to him, but he didn't mind, every clan had their quirks. Shino Aburame, Fubiki of Grass Country has formally requested to join Konoha as a leaf kunoichi. Though rare it is within my power to grant. However, she must have permission from her hometown or she'll be declared a missing nin by them, which I can't allow despite her lack of useful information about Grass. They won't see it that way. Team Itachi will escort Fubiki back to Grass, with documents from me, and formally request Fubiki be allowed to join Konoha. Itachi will be given permission to negotiate if needed. If you succeed, you will help her pack her belongings and bring her safely back to Konoha. As she is only a genin I don't expect any trouble, but due to the nature of the mission I'm assigning it as a crank. You leave at 10 from the main gate, your sensei and teammates will be informed immediately. Dismissed. Sarutobi said. Shino nodded, waited for Fubiki to stand and thanked the Hokage for his help, then escorted her out and headed home to gather his equipment. She came along. Inoichi waited until they closed the door, then turned to Kurenai and smiled. She really likes him. I must admit I never saw this coming, but I think once she returns we'll give her a final check and should be able to clear her. He's just what she needs. Kurenai smiled happily. I agree, Inoichi. After what happened with Sakura, Shino is exactly the kind of stability she needs to pull herself out of this. Kami, I'm good. Kurenai said happily with a big knowing smile. Inoichi glanced at Sarutobi to confirm his thought. Kurenai Yuhi, did you have something to do with this? He asked suspiciously, but slightly amused. Kurenai turned to Inoichi and Sarutobi with a sweet and innocent expression. Me? Don't be silly. Kurenai said calmly, gave them an obvious smirk of pride at what she'd done, then turned and left. Inoichi laughed once she was gone. That devious little bitch. I'm inviting her over for dinner tonight, with a special guest. My princess and Inoichi-chan will love giving Kurenai a little of her own medicine. Inoichi said highly amused. Sarutobi smiled. I normally would stay out of these things. But who did you have in mind for her? Someone I owe something big to, and he deserves her. She'll straighten him out. Inoichi said. In more ways than one. He thought. Sarutobi thought a moment then smiled. He knew who Inoichi was talking about, that everyone thought needed to straighten out and settle down. 9:58 a.m., main gate. Shino glanced at Naruto as he watched Naruto holding Fubiki's wrist so she wouldn't pull her shirt up. He'd heard how Fubiki felt about Sakura now and what she wanted Sakura to do to her, but he'd never seen it until now. I'll make you a deal, Fubiki. Sakura said, unable to see a way to stop Fubiki from doing this short of complying. If you come back and become a leaf kunoichi. I'll do it, but on my terms. Deal? Fubiki smiled. Hi, Sakura-san. Come on, we don't have all day, I want to reach the border of grass by sundown. Itachi said in his normal, calm but commanding voice. Hi, Itachi-sensei. Shino, Kiba and Fuki said together, as they'd done hundreds of times. Shino had a lot of respect for Itachi. He was ruthless, but not heartless in training, and very efficient. Thanks to him they were currently the second best genin team in Konoha, next to Team 7, Kakashi's team was a very close third. The three teams, especially the sensei, were very competitive about who was number one. In a friendly way, his team and Kakashi's often switched spots as second best. They knew their real competition was Naruto, everyone used him as the measuring stick. Though all his friends now knew he was the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi, they knew he loved to spar and train with them anytime. He always pushed them to do their best. Shino nodded to Fubiki, who straightened her clothes and moved next to him. He nodded to Itachi. Good, let's move out, Formation 6. Itachi said. They quickly moved into their modified star formation, Fubiki assisted by Fuki on what to do, then they took off, quickly vanishing into the trees outside the wall. August 2nd, 12:19 p.m., Grass Country, Fubiki's house, bedroom. I still can't believe they agreed to let me join Konoha. Your sensei must be very persuasive. Fubiki said as she packed her clothes into a backpack. He is, Itachi-sensei is the best. He graduated from the academy at 9 and was an ANBU by the time he was 12. Fuki said proudly. Fubiki stopped a moment and whistled. That was very impressive. You must be the best team in Konoha. Fuki paused. Second best, Team 7 is the best we have. Fubiki thought a moment, then her eyes got big. Naruto. She said and almost cringed. Hi, Naruto-kun is the best, only. Fuki caught herself before she said something she shouldn't and paused only a moment. The Jounin are stronger, he'll make Chunin first time, everyone knows it. We're already planning his party for after the finals. Fubiki caught the almost nervous pause, and knew the small girl had almost slipped about something important. She wasn't going to press though, she didn't want to cause any trouble for herself, she'd need all the friends she could get. If they were hiding something, she'd prove she was worthy of their trust as a laugh kunoichi. She wasn't going to blow her only chance for a happy life. 12:25 p.m., Fubiki's living room. Don't worry about me, I was taking care of myself before you were born, I'll be fine another 6 months until you can get established. He's a nice boy, and from a big clan too. I'm so proud of you, Bikishin. The woman said with happy tears in her eyes and a big smile. Fubiki blushed from embarrassment. Kazan, not in front of the leaf Nin. And I'm not 3 anymore. I am so embarrassed. Fubiki said. Fuki giggled. Bikishin. I couldn't pronounce my name when I was little, so I said Biki, it was easier. Mom won't let me forget it. Fubiki said. Shino liked Fubiki's mother, early to mid-30s, nice face, brown hair to her waist, 5'7", and athletic, if slightly thick, build for a civilian. Her breasts looked maybe a cup size bigger than Fubiki's and obviously sagged quite a bit beneath her loose shirt, obviously the outer of several layers to keep her warm, but she looked good. Fubiki would age very well. And his mother would get along well her. Thank you for your hospitality, we'll take good care of your daughter. You should be able to join her in 6 months as we discussed, barring something unforeseen happening. I don't mean to scare you, but a ninja's life can be very dangerous, but as a genin, or even starting chunin, the danger she may face on a mission would be minimal. Itachi said calmly. I'll be fine mom, Konoha has as many shinobi as our town has people, and they're very strong. Trust me on this. Fubiki said, gave her mother a hug and kiss, then left with Team Itachi. Take good care of my baby Shinosen, she's all I have. She said to herself as she watched them from the door. Once she lost sight of them, she closed and locked the front door, went into her bedroom, flopped back first on her bed, her left went up under her shirts to her tits, her right down past the waist of her pants and panties. And through her very large, thick bush to her pussy. Dear Cammy. I almost lost it, I've never seen anyone so damn sexy. She almost moaned lustily, she hadn't had sex in over a decade and was extremely repressed. She stopped and removed her hands. I need a cold shower before I take Hachimi up on her offer. She said as she got off the bed and began to strip. 6 months, I just have to make it another 6 months until I'm in Konoha. Then I'm going to make someone very happy, even if it's not who I want. 10 years is long enough. August 3rd, 2:09 p.m., Hokage Tower. Fubiki finished signing her name to the last page of the form, then stood. Thank you Hokage-sama. Remember, you aren't a full-leaf kunoichi yet, you're only probationary for 6 months and you will be watched carefully at all times. If we believe you've violated your probation and betrayed Konoha in any way, you'll be arrested immediately and we will find the truth. One way or another, I hope you fully understand the implications of what you're doing Fubiki. He looked into her eyes and read her body language as only he could. She was intimidated, scared, nervous and excited all at once, but he couldn't detect any deception from her. She did honestly want to stay in Konoha, but as much as he'd like to he had certain duties as Hokage. He hardened his expression to be sure his message was clear. For now, you are a leaf kunoichi, welcome to Konoha Fubiki. Do not disappoint me. Sarutobi said emotionlessly and saw Fubiki flinch. She'd gotten his message. You'll be staying with the Aburame. Dismissed. Itachi, Kiba, Shino, Fuki and Fubiki all bowed, then all but Itachi left his office. You know she won't betray Konoha, I saw it in her eyes and know you did. You were a little harder on her than I expected. Itachi said. Sarutobi sighed and relaxed. Hi, I saw it in her eyes, but as Hokage I have certain duties I don't always enjoy. I assigned Yugugo to watch her with you, she'll meet you at sundown. Dismissed. As a former ANBU he knew Yugugo was an expert at stealth like him and an excellent ANBU. And she was rather attractive. Hi Hokage-sama. Itachi said, and left for home. He'd promised his mother he would visit as soon as he returned and reported. And he missed his little brother, they hadn't talked in a couple days and he wanted to find out what he missed while he was in grass. He hated to admit it, but he enjoyed the local gossip. It was very similar to information gathering on missions, one of his specialties, and he loved to learn new things, whether facts, skills or jutsu didn't matter, knowledge was power. Cammy, I hope Kakashi never finds out I'm as into the local gossip as Kurenai and Enko, that sick bastard would never let me forget it. I'd rather spend 6 hours talking with Guy about the fires of youth. Itachi thought and almost cringed at the thought. Once he left the tower he headed for the nearest dark alley, and the instant he was out of sight shoeshined to the roof and began running across them at blinding speed. Only a high-level jounin would even see him.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, share and subscribe and don't forget to share this video with your friends. This is Raven Sage, signing off.